This is the income statement chart of Aman Gupta's Imagine Marketing. Aman Gupta को हम सब लोग जानते हैं. He is a Shark Tank judge and he owns this very popular boat brand. Now let's look at this income statement. For the last 3-4 years, if you look at the revenues, 240 crore से 700, 700 से 1320, almost doubled. But if you look at the last 3 years, in a way, the revenues are stagnant. I mean, there's not big jump. If you look at the profit chart, the white one, now 8 crore, 50 crore, 86 crore, 79 crore, and the company is into losses in the last 2 years. It's 110 crore and then around 54 crore in 2024. The other major chunk is the other expenses. So the chart in yellow, bar, the 37 crores, 169, 151, 337. But if you look at the last 2 years, there's a huge jump in other expenses, 762 crore and 715 crore. Now a major chunk of other expenses is the advertising and promotional expenses. The bar in purple, 427 crore and 365 crores. So let's analyze this statement in more detail. And उससे पहले ये story हम इसलिए discuss कर रहे हैं because this company is now planning to go into IPO. So let's go there. So I have opened this page and you can see there are a lot of news about the IPO. So let's look at the first one. Aman Gupta led boat parent company files for an IPO again via confidential filing. So there are 3 things in this statement. One is the again, second is the confidential filing, and the parent company. So the boat is not the parent company. Boat is the brand, and they have other brands also there. So parent company is the Imagine Marketing, which will go for IPO. Both where some investor will divest, and there will be an expansion of equity also. Files for IPO again. Actually इनने 2022 में सभी में prospectus फाइल किया था, वो अभी भी available है. And because the market conditions were not good, so finally IPO 2022 में नहीं आया. This time they have filed via confidential filing. So confidential filing, SEBI के अंदर एक provision है. अगर आपको अपना document public नहीं करना है, so you can take this route, and this helps also. आपकी जो information है, वो publicly available नहीं रहेगी आपके rivals वगैरह को. और दूसरा even good for maybe let's say if there are some issues or observation of SEBI's, they can sort it out before filing it for public. So this is the news item I thought I'll show you. So let's move to the income statement and see the reason behind the stagnant revenues and also losses in the last 2 years. Now let's analyze the performance in detail and let's put a qualitative part into the numbers we just discussed. Number one is market saturation. We have seen that 3 साल जो stagnant revenues थे और जो losses हमने देखे हैं. So major metros in a way are already covered, and there are very few first time buyers, because there are already a dozen players. So जो revenue देख के लग रहा है last 3 years में, the base is very high. So growth from here on will not be very big. It will be around 10, 15 or 20%, but not like the way they were doubling their revenues in the past. Second is the price wars and the competition, which I talked about. There is aggressive pricing, which companies also maintained in their annual report. काफी aggressive pricing, and we have players, domestic player like Quitron है, Noise है, Hammer, Samsung, Sony, Beats, Bose, Marshall. So there are so many players in the market. Number 3, smartphone bundling, and this is very important. When you go to a shop or to a brand, to buy, your phone. Now earbuds included with phones, so everything is bundled together, and there is no need to go out and buy a product from a standalone, brand. Fourth is the consumer fatigue. Even एक बार शुरू में एक वैल्यू रहता है because it's a new product, but अब जो उसमें features आ रहे हैं, upgrades and all that, so there are many upgrades. So why should one change, to a new, earbuds or other hearable instrument? Now let's get to the fifth point. There is slower, tier 2 and tier 3, adoption. So disposable income constraints and outside constraints which outside the urban center, and it's a fact. The way Indian economy last 2-3 साल से grow कर रही है post COVID around 6 to 7%, which is not very high, and the inflation has remained at a higher level. So वो disposable income impact करता है. So the growth जो tier 2 and tier 3 cities है वहाँ वो ज़्यादा growth दिख नहीं रहा है. Supply chain disruption. If you see a brand like boAt, they do contract manufacturing, and they do it from Vietnam, they do it from China, they do it from India. So कई supply side constraints भी इसमें आ जाते हैं, which is very important. I think this is what we have seen post COVID, and ये ऐसा नहीं है कि COVID के बाद नहीं होगा, because you are entirely dependent on some outside third party player. And even these players, if suppose you have a tie-up with 3 players, let's say 5 players, these 5 players in turn are dependent on a lot of other suppliers for smaller component and items. A shift in preference, move from audio only to smart watches and multi-function wearables. boAt भी is diversifying its product basket from audio to wearable, but वहाँ पर ज़्यादा dent नहीं कर पाया, because today most of their revenue comes from in the audio business. So there is a shift which is also happening in the market. Inventory and distribution issues. So overproduction or poor channel management hurts revenue. When you are dependent on a lot of other multiple player, this impacts. Now the other thing which is happening, initially क्या हो रहा था कि the social media tools were available for all these companies, but now because of algorithm shift and other thing, it's not very easy to market through social media. Weak marketing ROI, this is very important. Initially जब मैंने आपको चार्ट दिखाए थे तो we have seen huge jump in marketing and ad related expenses, but the spend is high, but it's not yielding proportional sales. So that is also a big issue. कितना आप बढ़ा सकते हो खर्चे, expenses और खर्चे advertising and promotional, because that, and ultimately that is going to impact on the profitability. So ये these 10 are the big points or the reason for the kind of performance we have seen for emerging marketing, the boAt which is owned by Aman Gupta of Shark Tank.